Welcome to the AQA YouTube channel. To navigate through the video, you can select specific chapters or subjects of the video. Enjoy watching and remember to subscribe.
So I guess we could start off with you, Tim. If you'd like to introduce yourself to the group and what you do and share what you'd like to talk about today.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be here today. I can see that there's some familiar faces and names and also some new ones. So for those of you who don't know me, and I apologise to those who do, because you've probably heard me talk too much. I do get accused of talking too much. My name is Tim Marchington. I'm a leisure therapist. I've done time working on the leisure team at the Talbot previously, and now I'm employed by Solve TAD, which is a little micro organisation that has built a reputation over many, many years of building one-off pieces of equipment to help people live their best lives, albeit with a disability. So some of you may have even had previous pieces of equipment issued and designed for you by Solve, or as it was previously known, TAD Vic, and we're always open to new projects. So if there's something that you would think would make a difference in any aspect of your daily living or any passion point you have, connect with me and we can come up with something for you. I'm here today though to talk about fishing, and I appreciate Georgina, you allowing some time on the agenda for me to talk about something that I know a lot of people are very passionate about. In fact, my last visit to the Talbot to talk to one person about fishing resulted in many people capturing my attention and saying, how can we get into fishing again too? So I'm going to talk about not only the practicalities of fishing, but I want to talk with my therapist hat on about the benefits of fishing and why it's a worthwhile pursuit. Even if you've never fished before, there's lots of evidence as to the benefits, and I'll talk to that. But I also am lucky enough today to have, I guess, a really great colleague of mine, Elysia from Fishcare Victoria, but she heads up a program called Fishability. So, Elysia, I'll invite you to jump in at the end, if you like, once I've covered off some points that I wanted to make. And then, in fact, we're going to try and see what the appetite is, even within this group, to run another one of those great fishing days. And AQA Spire have previously run some days that have been so popular, and people have been telling me about such great memories they had from the days when we've gone fishing or gone out on a charter boat. So I'm hoping that that Elysia and I and Josh and Naz and Georgina can coordinate perhaps other opportunities to fish in a few different ways and shapes and forms. Allow me just to rattle on for a few minutes, and then perhaps if you have any questions, maybe pop them in the chat, and then Georgina, if you can collate questions and guide us through that at the end. So I don't profess to be any expert in fishing based on the fact that I've never caught a really big fish or been able to feed my family with fish, but I certainly understand why people put in a lot of time, and you can spend a lot of money fishing. Equipment alone can be quite expensive if you choose to buy the very, very best of gear. However, it's a sport that's got low barrier to entry. You can, and I have, gone to an op shop and bought a secondhand fishing rod for like $3, picked up a $3 bag of pippies and gone to my local pier and sat on the end of it and not caught fish. So I'll never be able to tell you what the best fishing spots are, the best baits, the best knots or anything, but I certainly can talk about, for me personally, how relaxing and meditative it is to sit by the water and watch the light glinting on the water and focus on stuff. So there's lots of places you can fish, as you know, and each environment, you'll have a particular one that is more suited to you. So as I'm talking through all these options, just sort of keep making a mental checkpoint of the sorts of things you go, yeah, that's really more me than the other options, because then we can talk in an individual sense about how to actually really tailor a positive fishing experience to you. I like to fish off my boat now. I've got a very little boat, an old boat, but I like, when the weather allows, getting in it and putting out to some spot and throwing down an anchor and sitting there and throwing out a line. And so obviously fishing off boats or kayaks, piers, lakes, rivers. Albert Park Lake here in Melbourne is full of fish. They're not great eating fish, but full of fighting fish. So there's lots of places that you don't have to travel a long way to go to. If you are using boats, there are hoists, and I've put in the chat, and I'll just send the chat comment in a minute, but Parks Victoria have invested some money to put in hoists at Patterson River and down in the Gippsland Lakes, and they're looking at putting in more next year at different popular waterways so people can hoist in and out of kayaks or boats. And all you need to do is do a short course where you have a chance to be shown how to use that equipment. It's all free, but you do need to be qualified to use it, and that just takes about an hour's training. I have that qualification so that if you wanted to go fishing and have someone to assist with the hoisting, I, as part of my job, can actually get permission to come out from my boss and come and help someone hoist in and out of a boat, which is a great bonus. I've had to do that a few times, and I've probably had just as much fun watching people come back from those trips with their bag of fish and a big smile. As I mentioned, the sport has a low barrier to entry, so we even have some loan gear in my office that if someone wanted to just give it a go, I've got enough to do it. And Elysia will talk a little bit at the end of this about her program and how you can turn up and just have a go at an accessible fishing program for very little cost. So what are the benefits of fishing? Number one, and these are all proven benefits, combats stress and anxiety. I know we all experience that from time to time, and we all manage it in different ways, but fishing has been proven to actually do things like lower your stress hormones like cortisol, and to increase some of the feel-good hormones and serotonins. If you're outdoors, presumably fishing, you get some vitamin D on your skin, and vitamin D is proven to speed healing. So if you had a pressure sore, maybe a little bit of vitamin D could be just an extra layer in that. Having a singular focus, sitting on a pier, thinking about fishing and not thinking about all the other piles of stuff on your to-do lists and the stresses of the world, actually is proven to help. And they've done this with EEGs and things, proven to help getting the right sort of sine waves in the brain that actually create a calmness that lead to better sleep quality. So the singular focus of, switching your phone off, closing down your laptop, and just focusing on doing something actually can have all these benefits. Whether or not you catch a fish or not doesn't actually matter for most people. Being around water is proven to be beneficial. Moving water releases negative ions, which boost immune systems and help regulate sleep. So even just being around the physical beauty of some lovely waterway, I know I get drawn to the light glinting on the water. It's obviously some physical exercise. Getting out and moving around is good, and it's COVID safe. You can easily socially distance fishing. You can go on your own if that's what you prefer to do, or you can make it a social experience and go with other people and just enjoy having the chat that comes from sitting there doing something similar with people that you like to. It allows time for quiet reflection. So a bit of meditative time is something I shared that I'm happy to, I sort of seem to get a sense of just zenning out a little bit. And you can't really put enough emphasis on how important that is. It builds resilience and social links. So, I know of a person I went fishing with last year, and he had an injury that resulted in him being a wheelchair user. Previously, he'd been a four-wheel driver, and then found a bit of a disconnection from his mates that he'd previously four-wheel drived, and they decided that they would go fishing together and organised to use a local hoist at Tooradin. And the outcome of that's actually really special for that particular gentleman is he's now doing something outdoors with his mates, albeit it's not the four-wheel driving that he previously did, but he's doing a sport that, in fact, all of them can learn together. So they've got this sort of connection happening. Now, there are some risks to fishing. And if I think about spinal cord injury, I think one of the first risks is being out in the wilderness, being out on a pier, in the wind, on a boiling hot day or a freezing cold day. The challenge is about regulating body temperature, and we don't want anyone to sort of have an issue where they get so hypothermic or hyperthermic and they really struggle. So there would be some challenges there for each person individually to see how they would maintain a really good body temperature. But there's equipment for that. There's heated jackets you can get now. There's really good thermal gear, and also other ways of keeping people cool. I just helped design, not design, sorry, that's the wrong word. I helped locate an ice cooling vest for someone who can't self-regulate their own cooling. They have a medical condition called ectodermal dysplasia where they simply don't sweat. So we've come up with a way that they can stay outdoors and do the things they like. So in terms of managing body temperature, we can always individually work on plans for that and in conjunction with your medical team. There are the risks of, as you know, pressure sores from sitting in an uncomfortable position or not moving around enough. Again, techniques for managing that are readily available and equipment to support it. There's the risk of sunburn. I have today a very red neck from not managing my risk of sunburn yesterday. So, you know, we all want to make sure that people don't end up with, you know, anything unnecessarily painful. So there are some risks, but I think the benefits far outweigh the risks. Now, there are some modifications that have been previously designed by the engineers that volunteer for us that have been fishing related. And I'll just share some of these with you. I wish I had images, and I apologise that I don't, but we make very lightweight, mouldable and angle changeable rod holders that fit onto pretty much any wheelchair. So we have those. They're cheap and easy for us to produce. We even have a holder that once you catch a fish, you drop the fish into this holder and then it just lightly squishes the fish so you can use your hand to pull out the hook. So if you perhaps someone had limited strength in one limb, it allows them to catch and recover and keep a fish easily. It's a pretty good little device, actually. It's very much a MacGyver device, but it works really well. We've had people ask us to help modify hoists onto their boats if they've perhaps got an existing boat or have bought a boat. So you may have seen Marty Sheldon, guys, through his page, has been doing some fishing against something he was very passionate before he had his bike crash. So he's now got a modified boat that he can get in and on, which is fantastic. He also kayaks, so he enjoys his time on the water. We've made modified gloves that have some Velcro attachments and help with holding a rod if grip's something that's a challenge for you. We've made electric powered reels that are a combination of a power drill and a fishing reel that will automatically reel in the fish when you activate it. If that action of reeling in is tricky for you. We've made shades that go over wheelchairs so that if people are in the sun, they're not super exposed. And we've even made modified tackle boxes and we're open to any challenge. So what I've covered off so far is why would you go fishing? What are the benefits? What are the risks? And what can we do to modify? What I'd like to do now is introduce Elysia. Elysia, would you like to talk about your wonderful program, please?
Absolutely. Good to see you, Tim. And thanks for the intro. Yeah, I only just recently heard about this meeting and that there was a focus on fishing, which is a sport and an activity that I've been involved with since studying at university, formally qualified in environmental science, and was looking for ways to get involved with the community and found an organisation called Fishcare Victoria. Fishcare Victoria is a not-for-profit that was established about 25 years ago by a number of passionate anglers who enjoy fishing and thought that it would be beneficial to share that knowledge and that understanding of Victoria's rules and regulations with children, community members and anyone that's getting started with the journey. We've grown to a volunteer base of over 100 volunteers. We cover 6 regions across the state, ranging from Melbourne, Mornington, Westernport, across to Lakes Entrance and right down to Warrnambool. So we cover a fairly large region, and we deliver a number of fishing clinics funded by the Victorian Fisheries Authority. So those folks who develop the rules and regulations of fishing. For a number of years, we were delivering ad hoc all-ability fishing clinics. So for folks who were interested and may have found some barriers to the sport. And about 2 years ago, just prior to COVID, we officially launched the Fishability by Fishcare Victoria program here within Victoria. Now, it is modelled off a program based in WA, which has been very successful, of piers and jetties and facilitated for, again, improved access to fishing for anyone living with a disability or who has struggled to access the sport in the past. Tim's right, though. It's one of the most accessible sports you can get, and it really can be, you can start fishing from the age of 3 and right up into your 90s. It really is a sport that favours all no matter your age, ability or experience. We absolutely love it. And you're right, it's not just about catching fish. There are so many benefits. And I personally got into it as a form of stress relief at university. I was living in Warrnambool and I'd go down to the breakwater, go for a fish, it would clear my head. In addition to the number of benefits that Tim mentioned, it really is what it comes down to as well is simplifying what you're doing. There's a couple of steps and things for you to focus on with fishing. It reduces the thought process that you're putting in, and it really can slow you down and just have you grounded again. So huge mental health and well-being benefits, as well as, again, access to the water, a form of social interaction with others. But no matter where you fall on the spectrum, it can be a quiet activity or a very fun group activity as well. So very flexible. Our program has been launching throughout COVID, and we've been channeling our efforts into providing different to our original program, something that is adaptive and inclusive. And so what does that look like? At this point in time, we're providing 2-hour clinics across a number of piers and jetties in Port Phillip Bay. Those include the Gem Pier in Williamstown, St Kilda Pier, and we'd like to establish a program in Mornington. These are on Wednesdays from 10 till 12 noon, and we're offering anyone who might be interested to take part. The program is free, and it provides standard 6-foot rod and reel fishing rods, as well as, which we're really excited by, some amazing electric rod and reels, which we've got from Achievable Concepts, which is a small business in New South Wales that provides adaptive sporting equipment and specifically fishing gear. I do have some photos actually of some of the gear here. I believe I can share this effectively. Can everyone see that? Okay, so our electric fishing rods and reels, they are reeled in with the press of a button where you can see this individual's thumb is. That will reel in your line, which you've cast out. So they cast as a normal fishing rod, but they're reeled in with the press of a button, and really beneficial to anyone with limited mobility or strength in their arms and hands. In terms of the strong, there's a strong arm as well. So we've got these strong arm holders which come in both left and right, and that allows the rod to be secured to the individual's forearm, again, in the case of limited strength. We have 5 of these rods available at the moment for each clinic. They come with a battery pack which sits around the shoulder, and we're investigating potentially accessing or seeking funding for more of these, and a way of attaching them to a wheelchair. We're working with Achievable Concepts on some rod holders as well. So again, this is a program that we've been running ad hoc for a number of years, but really with the more specific focus on those regions on Wednesdays in the mornings. We are flexible to afternoon times, but so far we've been working with some wonderful groups. We work with supported residential services, aged care facilities, any NDIS registered participants, families seeking a sport. Really anyone across the board is more than welcome to join us and join in. Do we always catch fish? No, we don't. Fishing can be super tricky in Melbourne. Given the large population size, there is quite a bit of pressure on our fisheries. And so if you're at a local pier chatting to any angler, they will say that it can be really challenging, and often the best way to catch fish is from a boat, which I think is where those hoists and that accessibility to the water can come in really handy. But look, Fishcare, we're not all about catching fish. We pride ourselves on being a fishing school, providing you with a free activity for a couple of hours to enjoy the sun. And again, just get involved with those basics. We hand out the guides, the rulers, and give you really a bit of a crash course in fishing. So not all about catching fish, but certainly hoping to get you hooked and get a little bit of a taste on the sport itself. So if you've got any questions, feel free to get in touch. And certainly if you would even like to trial a pilot program with us, more than welcome. Again, the only requirements of a group is that you've got a minimum of 5 individuals. At the moment, we're running groups of 10. And if you can get access to the location via a bus, a public transport or taxi, then the rest is covered by us.
Fantastic. Really good to hear about this. I don't know if you remember me, Elysia, but we spoke probably 2 odd years ago before the COVID hit, and we were thinking about presentating some more fishing ability activities with our members and just sharing it with people with spinal cord injuries, because fishing is one of those popular sports that everybody's partaked in some point of time, or if you haven't, you should, because as you guys have said, you know, it is pretty accessible. There's lots of people that we know already do fish, so you know, that have need to help, a bit of help to start somewhere, just to learn the ropes or the equipment or whatever that may be, because there is a lot of good equipment out there. So I really look forward to engaging with you again, and through our channels, sort of getting some people interested in fishing and getting up an event. So that'd be awesome. And Tim as well, it'd be really good to get an event up, and you know, it's good to hear that you're doing that again. So I'm really excited about it. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember you, Naz. Good to see you again. Hope you're well. And yeah, I think we had a couple of discussions about potentially using Mordialloc. There's other locations. Brighton, look, a lot of piers are accessible, which is great. At the moment, we are focusing our efforts on those 3 piers specifically. And in fact, if you are interested in joining us, we've got the events already available on Eventbrite. Now, some of which may actually be booked out. But, you know, in that case, I'd be happy to have a chat. But we're advertising our events for registration via Eventbrite. You can find us at Fishcare Victoria Inc. And that's the general way that we're going to be managing our numbers and bookings for this program.
Oh, that'd be great. We'll actually be good to have a chat anyway, because I would like to put this out to our community to see who wants to jump on and get ready and be involved, because, you know, before you know it, it's going to be winter and we'll be stuck indoors again. So now is the time. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
You're going to be sharing that website. So it was Fishcare Victoria Inc., was it?
So we've got a couple of places you can find us. Yeah, the Fishcare Victoria website is fishcare.org.au. We also have a Fishability website, which I can show you just here. Regardless, we've got a Fishability website, which is, I believe it's fishability.fishcare.org.au. So either of those websites can find our staff details.
Yeah, last time we spoke, your Fishability had got a bit of a funding injection, so that's what we were talking about, and trying to get and presenting that to people to get involved in fishing, because it's one of those things that can be done. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We were really lucky to be funded by the Victorian Fisheries Authority for a 2-year sort of pilot startup program, and that allowed us to purchase a new box trailer, which holds all of our gear, and to purchase the adaptive and the standard rods, and of course kickstart the program. We've got some momentum now, which is great, although albeit a little affected by COVID still, but nonetheless we've got the basics of the program ready to go, and now it will just be booking in some locations while the weather is, you know, warm enough. It generally starts to get a bit hairy around May, so you wouldn't probably want to book in anything later than May, which gives us a couple of months to work with, which is great. And so those websites, and then Eventbrite, we're at Fishcare Victoria Inc. at Eventbrite. But again, I can potentially put all of those in the messages down the bottom.
Yeah, it'd be good to just have a call and unite this conversation with AQA, and so we can put it out to our members, to our community. Yeah.
Elysia, probably if you wouldn't mind emailing, or maybe even Jim emailing me all those websites, and just so I don't get it wrong. And so we're going to be sharing it out to all the people in the meeting today, so they'll have a list of websites to have a look and peruse. But yeah, I can't even believe, I don't believe I'm going to say this, but you've got me interested in fishing. Something I've never thought I would say. Just the benefits, just listening to the benefits that both yourself and Tim mentioned about grounding yourself. I mean, I love water and I love looking at water as well. And who would have thought that you could meditate? And I find it hard to meditate at home. And so this is sort of a way you're not forcing yourself to relax and meditate, but you're doing another activity at the same time. And if you catch a fish, that's a bonus. But yeah, at Mornington, I only visited Mornington maybe a month ago for the first time, and it's a beautiful area. So yeah, I might even have a personal interest. I have to convince my husband to come with me, but yeah, that's all right. Sounds very good. So I'll have to check out your website.
Yeah. Now, Tim, you were saying Martin Sheldon set up a boat. There's quite a few people that have set up boats and are really, taken that hobby a lot further. And just really love the fishing and getting out there for all the reasons above. Myself, I wouldn't consider myself a fisher person, but when someone says to me, let's go fishing, I'm up for it. It's a good fun day, you know what I mean, to get out there. And the fish is a bonus, but getting out there is fun. We organised a trip out in Geelong on a pontoon boat probably about 3 years ago with some AQA community members, and we put about 10 wheelchairs on the boat. And it was great fun. We all caught fish, actually. So that was a bit of fun. And but Colin, you were also speaking about that you had a boat, a pontoon boat that you used to fish for. Is that right, Colin? Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a 22-foot pontoon boat, the American style, American brand, and I've modified that so I've got a ramp on the side so I can just roll on and off. And I've unbolted the seat so I can drive. So that's got an 80 horsepower outboard on it.
Oh, something nice to cruise on another day out on. Yeah.
And a full sun cover, because you need that in Australia.
Oh, and is that boat on a trailer or do you leave it in the water somewhere?
Yeah, it's on a trailer at the storage here at Painesville.
Yeah, wow, fantastic.
When
are we all going? Colin, we're coming down to you.
I wish we could leave it in the water, but just haven't got a space around here. But yeah, that would be the optimal. Martin's is in the water. He's here too. So yeah.
Yeah, another member I know, it's in Bendigo. He's got the pontoon boat and it's fairly new. So in between the pontoons, he's got a ramp set up and that folds up and down, and he drives his electric wheelchair up through the ramp. And that's about 22 foot as well. And or about that, I don't know exactly what size. And he just tows it with his wheelchair accessible vehicle, and that gets in the back, someone hooks him up, and then off he goes. And I'm trying to con him into taking me out pretty soon while the weather's still good. Yeah. So do we have any keen or people that would love to or would maybe like to participate in a day of fishing? Yeah. And got any questions? Yeah.
Hands up.
Or questions? Yeah.
Wifey, you've got a question?
Hi everyone. First of all, yeah, thanks team, and thanks Elysia for sharing about the fishing. I might be interested in going fishing one day. I used to go fishing before my accident with my mates, and we caught some fish, which was good. We went back, that was back in 2014 in Eden. We went on a road trip. It was one of the best road trip I've ever had. I want to share something that's not really related to fishing, but something that's like a great idea that I've dreamed of that would be of benefit for people on wheelchairs. Since you like to watch, you know, the water while fishing, why not try adaptive paddleboarding. I've seen like videos and photos of adaptive paddleboarding in the US and Canada, but they don't have it here in Australia yet. So it would be great, maybe in the near future one day, where people on wheelchairs get to just like roll on the paddleboard, lock their wheelchair to the paddleboard, and just be on top of water and start paddleboarding.
Well, good news. We've actually built an adaptive paddleboard for somebody up in our Sydney office. So we know how to do it now. If you wanted to investigate that as a project, we can connect on that. Is there anything similar in Melbourne? Well, we built that one particularly for one person, including a moulded seat. So they transferred onto the seat, but the seat was set into the paddleboard. It was a modified board, an existing board that the engineers rigged up. But if you're interested in pursuing paddleboarding, I'd like to talk to you about how we can make that happen. Yes, 100%. I'm actually very interested. Right. Like I've even done a bit of research. There's one company called Onit. Yeah. ONIT. And yeah, they have like different styles of paddleboard. One that's a lot more stable with like the side flotation thing. Yeah, with pontoons. Sorry, not pontoons, outriggers. Outriggers, yeah, that would be impossible to flip over, and you would be just like staying dry all the time and being on top of water, which is pretty cool. It's like, you know, walking on water. So cool. So cool. It's like walking on water, but you're actually like using your hands to paddleboard, and it's like good for the core workout, core strength. And it's not the same as pushing a wheelchair. It's like, you know, rowing. Yeah. And I think it would be good for everyone on wheelchair in terms of getting vitamin D and doing some core work and things like that. Absolutely. On that note as well, we just recently added, as a project for somebody, we added some outriggers to a canoe. Someone who had previously been a canoer and wanted to get back into a canoe, but didn't want to risk tipping out of the canoe. But we built outriggers that still allowed them to have space to paddle, but created some stability for the canoe. So yeah, if anyone's got any of those watercraft requests, I'd love to. Makes my day a great day if we can work on things like that. So yeah. What about like the platform, like where people like, is there like a platform where people canoeing, like to the water? How do you transfer to the water?
There is a number of platforms now. I'm not really sure what they are, but you have seen some regional councils put money into, and they're called canoe spots or something like that for people with disabilities. Yeah. So I think there's one up in Echuca and around that area. There's a few dots around with getting good interest. They're another organisation which I'd like to look into and find out more about for you. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Do you have anything to add to that, Tim? Yeah.
The accessible canoe launches, there's one up in Echuca, there's one out at La Cola at a campsite that they would readily let anybody use on the McAllister River. We're looking at building one on Devil Bend Reservoir on the Mornington Peninsula. So I'm sort of going through the very slow cogs that turn at Parks Victoria, but we're working on that. It probably wouldn't be ready until at least next summer. But one of the challenges I've had, and was actually Dave Jacker that came back to me and gave me some feedback, that the accessible canoe launches typically are more suited to someone who might have a para-style injury versus a quad injury, and therefore is a bit exclusive to quads. And I agree that the current designs are like that. So I think there's an opportunity for us to come up with something that's more suitable across the spectrum of SCI. So yeah, we'll be wanting to get lots of feedback from other people who have been passionate canoers. The other things we've made with canoers in mind, though, is we've also made custom one-off canoe trolleys. Some can either be connected to the back of a car so the canoe can be launched like a boat would be launched off a trailer. And we've had competitive canoers who paddle some pretty slick boats and have complete independence in launching and getting in and out of their boat. And so if someone is a passionate canoer or any other watercraft, I know my engineers will have a solution. So, and I have to tell you this, guys, my engineers have been sitting idle for a long time without much to do project-wise. So they don't do well when they're bored. So we need to get projects into them. So, if you have something that you think you need to have made, then lean on me, because I've got to keep those guys busy or they get grumpy. They do.
Actually, I remembered another spot where they've put a canoe launch for disabilities, people with disabilities. I think it's on the Barwon River in Geelong. Yeah.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right. And there's a passionate paddler down there who's got an SCI. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's one of those things that a few more people are doing than what we were led to believe that we know of it. And it's not that mainstream, because nothing is in our world. But when you link up and ask the question, you'll be surprised. There's ways of doing lots of different things. And Solve can help you do that via their engineers and their networks, and getting things that aren't on the shelf that you can't buy. That Solve are an organisation that can help nut that out for whatever that may be. Apparatuses or equipment around the house, or sporting or leisure, or whatever that is. And so it's a big area that Solve can back you up on. A bit underutilised at times too, I feel, that Solve, that whole connection there. But
interestingly, just before this meeting today, I dropped over to have a look at a project of volunteers working on for the Talbot. Some of you may have experienced the Holden car that's there that you can use to practice your transfers in and out of a vehicle. What some of the OTs have found, though, is that that's great for a car that's a sedan, but what if you've got an SUV or a four-wheel drive? And so we're going to be modifying that so that it can be set to all different heights to mimic however big your car is, to practice transferring for that. But a simple little modification to, the engineers put in a few hours into designing a hoist that will lift this thing up and down as needed. But I think that'll be a game changer for people when they're learning those independent living skills about, getting out of rehab. So, now that we've finished that project, the volunteer today said to me, "What have you got for me next?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm actually jumping on a meeting today." And he was the guy that built the previous canoe launching trailer. So, Wally, I think if there's something we can do to get him working on something that might get you stand-up paddleboarding, then I think now's the perfect time. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Aren't you glad both of you joined today? Fantastic connections.